everyone.
Hi, and welcome back to AATV Live. I'm your host, Tom Anvil Hibbard, and we're streaming today from the workshop. I managed to get a 30-metre extension cable running from the router in the front room. Our neighbours are having a VE Day garden party, so you may hear some slightly funny noise, and the dogs are just being fed. If you're lucky, one of them will come in and say hello. Great, so all of that over and done with. What we're talking about today is longevity in airsoft, or how to stay playing. So a lot of us have had time off the sport, or have had an injury, or have had another reason, if they're incapacitated, that they can't play airsoft. So our guests today come from all sorts of different experiences in airsoft, and we're going to share with you our ideas of how to stay playing when you really don't feel like it. So I would like to introduce my guests today, Phil, Kelly and Sean. How you doing, guys?
Hey everyone.
Yeah, good.
Hey guys.
So normal questions. How are your quarantine haircuts going? Kelly, you look lovely
ginger.
as always.
Terrible.
Look at that.
Oh my god.
Almost back to our natural colour. I shaved my eyebrow, did that. Lost a game of odds on.
Whilst drunk, Kelly, by any chance?
No. Oh, actually, no. I was drunk when I lost the game of odds on. But I was sober when I shaved my eyebrow because this I have to live with. I'm kind of feeling it though. I look like a drug runner. I just don't have any drugs. I don't run. So
You look like a road man lady or something.
road man, yeah.
You should have like an Adidas tracksuit on and a BMX or something.
That's all I need.
And be... Phil, how you doing? You look a bit fluffy today. Have you been busy?
Yeah, I've been busy clearing crap out of the garden into a skip, so I had a shower and didn't bother putting any wax back in my hair, so it's a little bit fluffy, I'm afraid.
So I've got a couple of questions in the comments talking about my new background. I've moved into the workshop, so it's a shared space I have with my partner who's a textile artist. And now she's very graciously shared half the room with me, so now it's full of 3D printers and computers and microphones and cameras and guns and all sorts of stuff. So no longer quite the paradise that it was, but I like it. It's really nice in here. And
The colour of that room is beautiful.
It is. It makes a really nice backdrop, so I'm really quite pleased. Yeah. Okay.
It brings out your glow.
Yeah.
Well, that's deliberate. I've got I've got a fill light up here, and then I've obviously got natural light, and then I've got my
Blue light.
IKEA RGB lights, blue behind me, shining up. So I've been taking lots of lessons on all this streaming stuff, and trying to look vaguely sensible. I still can't work out why my camera's letterboxed, but we'll just get on with it. Okay, so today, for those of you just new to the stream or joining us, we're going to talk about longevity in the hobby and how to stay playing effectively. Lots of us have had slightly different experiences in dropping in and out of airsoft. So we've got quite a varied show. Kelly, you're relatively new. Phil's been playing since about 1900. He did start off with Napoleonic muskets and all that kind of stuff. Sean's also been playing for quite some time, but he's kind of representing our lapsed player. He's currently dabbled, but he's not really played since 2012. Sean, is that about right? Kind of
maybe a bit later. Well, I think 2015 was 2016 was when I sort of kind of really hung up the hat and stepped away from it properly.
Okay.
And that was when we met and had a Burger King.
And you were saying, Sean, that you kind of lockdowns almost made you want to play a bit more.
Yeah.
Or you started to think about it again. Okay, well, we'll dive into that.
Yeah, I've just been dabbling with it.
Brilliant. Okay, well, this should be fun then. Please ask questions. We'll try and answer them on the stream as we go through. You might have to wait a bit till we get to a natural break in the conversation. So my kind of first question is to you all, really, and that's about how long do we actually think people stay in the hobby, and why do you think that is? So, Kelly, well, you've got some experience of working at airsoft sites. Do you see people come and go?
I think it's 50-50. There's a lot of people that I've... So I work at West Midlands Airsoft alongside everything else I do. And I've been working there for like 2 years now. And in that time, I've seen there's a lot of faces that I recognise. They're there every week. They go to the outdoor site and the indoor site. They'll play twice a week if they want to. And there are people that I've seen come once. Never seen them again.
Do you think they're new players, or they're just visiting players, or?
I don't know, because most of the rental players we get, they come to the indoor site, which I always think, I'm not being funny, but like CQB for your first ever time playing airsoft, I think that's a mistake. But live your best life. I don't care. They turn up and then they love it. They come downstairs, they're covered in welts, and they're just like, this was amazing. can we do it again? And they turn up week after week, and I'm just like, you got it, all right. So I think our new players, the retention rate on them is really good. I think it's what I see is players that are maybe Billy Big Bollocks at their own sites.
Right, okay.
Turn up to a different site, they don't get the favoritism they would normally get, and they get their arses handed to them by regulars, and they're like, oh, actually, not doing this. And then you never see them again. And then you go to their own side, you smash them there, and then they're like, oh my God, you're cheating. That's how I see that.
Phil, you've played in a few places. Have you got any kind of experience on it?
Yeah, I think there's like a natural progression that I've seen. You get people who play, and I've introduced a few mates to it. One who said after his first game, I'm not going to get like buying loads of stuff. I'm just going to see how it goes. And then 3 days later, we were at JD Airsoft, spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds. This was before the VCRA, so you didn't need UCAR or membership, site membership or anything like that. I would say that it depends when the person starts playing, and it depends a lot on disposable income as well. I've always been lucky that I've always had really good jobs, which have given me the income to be able to do the hobbies that I want to do. And I know not everybody's like that. So I always appreciate the fact that I'm lucky. And that's probably why I've stuck at it. I must have quit about 10 times in the last 28 years, though.
Cool. Okay.
But something always brings me back. I would say, I think for a lot of people, 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then there's things like, of course, family, job changes. As the players get older and those things become more important, that can have a serious impact on playing. I know when I had a young family, I could only ever play once a month. That was it. Absolute maximum, if I was lucky.
That's right, because, Sean, have you got kids?
No.
Okay,
I'm not silly.
Yeah, I think Phil's will be an interesting perspective being a parent, because that does obviously going to have quite an impact on.
It has a massive impact because when you say, "Oh, I want to buy a new gun," it's like great, but the kids need new school uniforms, or there's a school trip coming up which is going to be £200, and
Clark's
you just can't.
Expensive.
They fucking are.
They are, yeah.
Really fucking are. But to me, I think I started playing even less as when the kids were younger, and as they've got older, I've been able to play more. So, like, my eldest is 18, and my youngest is nearly 15, but he actually comes with me now. So that's kind of good. So I probably play more before this lockdown started than I probably had done in the last couple of years.
Okay, Sean, what about you? So you've got probably a slightly different perspective on things.
I think actually Kelly touched on some good points there. It's when you get regulars at other sites turn up to another site and they don't get the red carpet royalty treatment because they're just a player at another site, and then they get destroyed, bugger off, back to their site, and then at some point they get destroyed there, and I think they start wrapping their hand in maybe a bit earlier. I think some of it though is it's fairly relative. I've seen guys that have done a year wrap their hand in because they got bored of it. I've seen other guys, some of you have done, 20 years and just haven't stopped. A couple of my friends are like that. They've just never stopped. I'm getting up close to 15 years, and I've had a hiatus myself. Yeah. For many reasons. We'll might touch on them later.
Sure. We'll go into it. Yeah. Let's think next question. So that's a nice segue. From my perspective, certainly, I don't know if Nigel ever talked to you about it, Kelly, but certainly Airsoft Action tends to work on like a 2-year cycle.
Yeah.
So they kind of assume that people last about 2-3 years and then they move on and move on and do something else. They certainly subscriptions tend to last 2 years. So that's So that, and there could be many reasons they stop subscribing, but it's a fair play, So and there are many pressures. So obviously a family, a new job, moving away, new pressures, trying to buying a house. That's a big, that's
That's expensive.
That's expensive. And
Expensive.
that's a massive drain on your resources. So that's one of the things.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a nice change into the next question for you guys and myself. I've got something to say on this. Is, have there been periods where you've stopped playing Airsoft, and if possible, can you explain why? Kelly, you were just talking about this longest period you've not played Airsoft for.
Yeah, so I've played almost every weekend for 6 years up until lockdown. This is long. Do you know what? Honestly, if I'm not playing Airsoft, I will be working at West Mids. I'll either play the Saturday and work the Sunday, or I'll work Saturday and play Sunday. I try and get around as many sites as I can. I've been doing that for 2 years, but from like 2014 to 2017, I've just been playing every weekend, travelling up and down across the country, and then 2 other countries to play. And then when lockdown was announced, I was like, oh my God, I'll get a break. And the first 2 weeks, I was like, this is amazing. I can have a drink on Friday, not worry about getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And for the first 2 weeks, I was like, this is amazing. I did so much painting. And then 2 weeks in, I'm like, I'm bored. I would like to go back. I would like to see my friends. I got a lot of kit in the last, since lockdown started, my office is overflowing with new kit. But I haven't managed to do anything with it apart from take some photos for Instagram. But I can't take any actual photos because I can't get there.
I've got 4 riffs waiting for range testing at the moment, and it's kind of like,
what does one do?
Just want to go and shoot stuff, Get some. Okay, so Phil, you've obviously you've had some somewhat not self-inflicted, but accidental periods away from Airsoft.
Some of them were self-inflicted, obviously. My other hobby is downhill mountain biking, which
I saw that video.
Isn't the safest of sports, really, especially if you're me. But I did get a really nice helicopter ride over Snowdonia as a result.
Cool.
Last time I went.
Could you actually see out the windows though?
Cool. Only when he banked, because I had a neck brace on and head blocks and straps, and because I'd smashed all my chest up and everything, so not a great deal. But I, from another cycling injury, I had to have spinal surgery in 2011, where I had to have a fusion. So I've got some titanium screws and carbon fibre cages in my lower spine, which meant for about 8 months before the operation I couldn't play, and then for about a year afterwards I couldn't play. But I have been playing at Fireball Squadron since it started, over 20 years now. So I still went every month, mainly to see my mates, because I've got some lifelong friends now from Fireball Squadron, and I just took my toolbox. Everybody would unload my car for me because I couldn't pick them up. And I'd just fix guns. If somebody had a problem with a gun, I'd just fix them. Or if they wanted something doing, I'd do that. So I'd still go every month. I just wouldn't play. So I sort of kept in it that way. But yeah, there were times where I just didn't want to go at all. And I'd wake up at 5, 6 o'clock, look out the window, look at all the kit, and just go, bollocks, and go back to bed. And those were the really difficult weekends.
Okay, and we'll go on in a bit. We'll go on to how you got playing again and how you got motivated. Sean, what about you? Obviously, you've pretty much stopped. So, kind of, how did that briefly? Because we've had quite a long chat on Wednesday. Briefly, how did that come about?
Quite a few reasons. Big one being politics in the southwest, and being dragged through the hedge backwards by said politics. It really puts a downer on it. It kind of ruins it. It takes the shine off. And I got to a point where it was turning up to a game just for the sake of turning up, and then walking away going, well, that really wasn't a very fun game. And it was probably a really awesome day, but in my mindset, I wasn't going to have a good time. So that was kind of when I took a step back and faded out of existence in the airsoft world, but kept my hand in there a little bit on forums and Facebook and et cetera, and just staying abreast of the news really. And this lockdown has just been, for me, it's just been, I could make it work again, so starting fiddling with guns again and maybe get myself back out in the field after the lockdown and see where it goes from there, really, with no misconceptions of this is going to be an amazing day or a bad day. It's just go out, sling some plastic across a field and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, so from my perspective, I stopped playing in 2007. My other hobby was skydiving, and I decided to take it vaguely seriously for a couple of years. Got on a junior British team. Junior in skydiving is basically your experience, not your age. Went and trained really hard for a year. Won the national series. Went to the Europeans. Won the Europeans. Casual flex, and then. And this was also around the time of the VCRA, so I was getting a bit fed up with it all because we were working really quite hard to promote the hobby and promote airsoft and keep it alive, really. And lots of people, there was so much politics going on. So quite similar to Sean. It was just like we were trying to keep this thing alive, and lots of people were just sniping at us. And we're like, well, Phil will remember that. It's like everyone. It was
ridiculous,
and it really killed. I was also marshalling a lot and helping run First and Only Matlock, and we'll probably touch on that in a bit as well because we think we've probably all marshalled. It can be great and it can be quite a negative influence as well.
I have seen some incredible things marshalling. Incredible. I don't mean that in a good way either.
Yeah, so and then I got into triathlon, did triathlon, was triathlon coach, did a few other things, and then kind of 2012, 2013 I started getting back into it again. I always kind of kept an eye on what was going on, and I've been out a couple of times with mates, once a year or something, but I certainly wouldn't have turned myself an airsoft test. And then I came back in again, really, when I kind of almost fell out of love with triathlon and coaching people. I needed something else to do, and I remembered airsoft, and it was cool, so I got back into it. Okay, so particularly for you guys, obviously this doesn't necessarily apply to Kelly quite so much, because it's about what got you. So the next question is what got you playing again? Why did you what sparked that? Phil, would you like to lead that off for us?
Yeah, okay. I mean, one thing that has always happened for me, I've never sold all of my kit ever. I've sold a lot of kit and then reinvested in new guns and new, like plate carriers, whatever. But I've always there isn't a single year in the last 28 years where I've not had at least 2 or 3 airsoft rifles and a couple of pistols. So I've always liked firearms, real firearms, and shooting generally. So I've been like plinking in the garden or whatever, and I always stayed on the forums and then Facebook when that came about. And I miss my mates, to be honest. Sometimes, the politics and it was a marshalling thing that made me quite bad, actually. There was a lot of hate from a particular team. I'm not going to say who they were, but they were a bunch of arseholes, and they really made life miserable for me. And not just in person, but online as well. Threats are coming around to beat me up and stuff. And that really did it for me for quite a while. I just thought it changed the dynamic completely of where I like to play. And I didn't want to be there if they were there.
Sounds like bullying.
But then, it was bullying.
It's
bullying, which sounds ridiculous, because I'm 43 now, so I was probably late 30s then, and I was being bullied, and it was horrible. But it was my mates, it was the friendships that I had that kept me just from going all the way over to right. That's it, I'm done. Even with my other hobbies like downhilling, I started doing a lot more of that, and I woke up in the morning going, I'd rather go cycling than shooting. But it was the friendships that I had that have always brought me back into it, always. So that's it for me anyway.
Okay, Kelly, what keeps you going? Sorry, you're busy
I
typing.
like to prove people wrong.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I saw Jez wrote, everyone's tough behind a keyboard, you mug.
Yeah.
And I was about to put, everyone's really tough behind a keyboard until they see you in person. I think I've never stopped playing because I really, really enjoy it, and I've never been in a position where I wanted to stop. But there has been times where certain things have cracked off within social media when I've been harassed, I've been sent threats, and I've honestly thought, is it worth it anymore? Is this worth it? It makes me feel unsafe. But then I realised that if I stop, they get what they want.
Yeah.
And in this house, that's not how it works. I get what I want. No one gets what they want. That's not how it works. So it's always been a case of we just have to keep going and soldier on. Because what I've noticed is it doesn't matter how tough someone is online. If they see me in person, it doesn't matter if I'm 5'3" and I weigh 120 pounds. They could be 6'4" and weigh 250 pounds. No one's starting. No one is going to beat me up. I mean, they can try. Like, you can try, but you definitely get done for assault.
Yeah, and I know you come in, you have a significant online presence, so you come in for quite a lot of flack, most of which is utterly outrageous.
It actually is. I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day. Everything that's happened, because there are certain big things that I've been through within this sport, because I started Airsoft in 2000. My first game was 2011. I was like, I'm never playing this again. This is arse. This is shit. And then in 2014, I was like, this is great. Let's play it all the time. And I sort of grew up as an airsofter in that social media spotlight sort of thing.
Yeah.
And with that, it comes as a lot of it's almost a baptism by fire. People like to just chip away at your foundations to hope one day that you're just going to fall off the edge of the face of the earth. And I was like, do you know what though? No matter what happens, it's always more satisfying knowing that I've outlasted all of these people.
Yeah.
There are people that have sent me rape threats online. They stopped playing. I haven't stopped playing.
Just want to bring up a point, because Tom Foxtrot in the comments has said, as a new very casual player, all this stuff about bullying harassment is very eye-opening and worrying. I want to point out to him that this is actually really rare.
Yeah.
And for most people, you will never come across any of this. A lot of this is because people like Phil and Kelly, Phil being president of UCAPU and doing lots of work in politics and Airsoft, and Kelly by being a girl in Airsoft and having a significant online presence, put themselves on a pedestal, and people just want to knock them off. That's just the way the world works. People want to break the pretty thing. It's just not fair. So I really wouldn't worry about it.
No,
it's really not. It's really not going to happen to you. It really is not a problem at all. Most people are incredibly friendly, and actually, and if they are being dickheads, it's generally behind a keyboard. And when they get to an Airsoft site, they're like, "Hello,"
or they won't even look you in the face. Or just do this.
So I really wouldn't worry about it. I just wanted to reiterate that point, because I want to keep this. Want to keep this stream quite positive. But I think it's important for all of us to give our perspectives on why we've.
If I can just quickly add as well, if you see me and my mates at Airsoft, you'd think we hate each other. And I think that's probably true with most people. It's like, what you after, you bastard? You're a bunch of wankers. You know, that's reserved for the people that I like. If I go, hi, how are you? You're looking well. Probably not a friend. But yeah, the bullying side of it is super. Airsoft sites have had some of the friendliest, nicest people I have ever met. You know, they will happily sit there and talk to somebody who's at the first game for as long as they want to about the kit they've got. They'll let them play with it. They'll let them, have a go with it. They will talk them through whatever options they want to discuss. And that is the overriding experience of most Airsoft sites for most people. And there will always be, whatever the hobby, there'll always be that small group of people who are just wankers.
They generally don't.
And
they generally don't actually play either. Sean, so what is there anything in particular that's kind of got you excited again about stepping out and slinging some balls, or is it? Well, just talk us through what is it.
I actually don't honestly know. This lockdown, it's brought a lot of things in perspective, I suppose, for a great many people. And it sort of made me realise that I don't need to be out every weekend pissing up, and I don't need to be doing that.
Well, you could be.
I could be, but hungover Airsoft isn't fun.
It is not. Oh my goodness, it is not.
But it would be a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
We used to my old team. We used to play really badly in the morning because everyone was utterly smashed. This is like back in the 2000s,
Oh,
and then we actually got quite
When we could do
reasonable in
that,
the afternoon after lunch when we'd all had like enough bacon to cope. I'm just
That's
annoying
so
Ben
cool,
because
how
Ben
well.
was really looking forward
Ben.
to this beer, and it's just arrived, and I've got 3 cans for him in the fridge. So I'm just
Oh, no.
it's Wylam. This is yeah. So he's I'll have a little taste in a minute, Ben, just to annoy you.
Oh, no.
Okay, cool. So I think one of the things that's been really interesting there is there was a lot of talk about friendships. So actually,
Yeah.
I'd like to dive into that a little bit more because I think that's something all of you guys have already said several times. So should we talk a bit? And certainly on a more positive note, should we talk a bit about the friendships that we've formed in Airsoft?
Yeah.
Who would like to lead me off? Kelly.
I would like to start. So all the way back in 2015, I became an admin to the UK Airsoft community on Facebook.
Lucky you.
I know, so lucky. That was a great experience. But I met the admins of that. So Henry, Alex, Liam, Chris, all those guys. And we're still playing Airsoft together like 5 years later. And they're some of my closest friends. There's also been people that I've met through the Airsoft industry that I class as almost family, and with West Mids as well. So my dad passed away in 2018. And I started working for West Mids in 2017. Paul and Kelly, who run West Mids, have always been so kind and so generous to me. But after my dad died, they took me under their wing.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I have a second family. Doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter day or night. Like, it doesn't matter what's up. I can ring them and be like, I need you. Like, the other day I rang Paul and I was like, when lockdown's over, can you come chainsaw this tree in my back garden, please? And he's like, when it's lifted, that's fine. But I think no matter what the negatives of like sort of like what I do are, because it's not, I don't think you see it in every single walk of Airsoft. I think you just see it in certain ones. So what I do, obviously, I put myself up there on a pedestal essentially to then be subject to all sorts. But I think what else keeps me going, apart from the fact that I want to prove people wrong all the time, because I like doing that, but I think it's just the fact that Airsoft has actually given me some of the best friends I could ever ask for.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt. I think there's people that I know I could ring up crying at 3 o'clock in the morning and then drive 2 hours to my house to be here.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the strange thing about Airsoft. I've never been involved in a sport or a hobby, whichever you think it is. I don't care which we think it is.
That's another live stream.
That's another live stream altogether. I've never had that sense of community or that sense of friendship. Like, you can do snowboarding and people aren't this close.
Yeah.
You skiing, people aren't this close. Skating, people aren't this close. But Airsoft, somehow, everyone's like, I don't know, everyone just goes from being like a casual acquaintance to almost family, which is, it's super weird, but it's also awesome at the same time.
Oh, it's that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Phil, you spoke earlier about friends, and I know you've had some friends to lean on recently. You don't have to go into the circumstances, but I've certainly seen the support you've had on Facebook, and that's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I make no bones about it. I've suffered with depression badly. Last year was fucking shit, to put it subtly. And if it wasn't for a few mates who know who they are on Facebook, and there's a really good Facebook group called Man Down, which is brilliant, really good. That helped me enormously at the beginning of this year. But yeah, there's friends there who I know I could, like Kelly said, ring at 3 o'clock in the morning and they'd drive over if I needed them to just come and sit with me if that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best things about the hobby, that you really can make some amazing friendships and yeah, they become family. And I genuinely wouldn't still be playing without that. I think as much as I love the guns, and I'm a massive nerd when it comes to firearms, I've always loved shooting anything. If it goes bang, I'd want to shoot it. But I'd probably still always keep some guns if I quit. And I have a feeling at some point in the not too distant future I'm going to have to, just because my body is slowly giving up on me. my ribs aren't quite right, my back's not right, and I just can't play as well as I used to or as long as I used to. And when I do, it takes me 10 times as long to get over it. But that's just age as well. But I'll always hopefully still be around and involved in it one way or another.
Cool.
And a lot of that will be through the mates that I've made. And I think you just can't underestimate just how important that side of it is. I go to big games and not play just for the social side, to see the guys that I know that would be there.
So I've never met. So I've met Kelly a lot. I met Phil a lot. I would consider them close personal friends. Sean, I've never met, but I've been talking to him for the last couple of years. And the only reason we're talking, and then the only reason he's on this stream right now, is we've been talking in a Facebook Messenger group. I only spoke to him actually. Yeah. I only heard his voice on Wednesday when we did a quick tech check just to make sure we could actually.
Same here. I know Sean, but we've never met.
But isn't it great? Isn't it great that he's here now and we're all talking? Yeah. So I've kind of got two sets, because I've had almost two sets of Airsoft, and my closest, certainly I've never really been. I'm going to term this very carefully. My closest friends have always been women. I just generally get on with women better than men. That's just the way it works. However, my really close personal friendships are men, and those men I've met through Airsoft. I certainly count Phil as one of those, and the other guys. And
you've been a massive helpmate over the last few months, definitely. And
there's also the guys who really helped me. So I also, let's be cards on the table. I also have depression and anxiety, and there've been periods where I can't play because I get too tense. But actually, at the drop of a hat, those guys will come around, ring me, talk to me, take me down the pub, take me for a walk, and it's been absolutely incredible. And part of that, I don't know, part of it comes from being in the trenches together, all that kind of classic battle buddy, battle brother, battle sister kind of stuff, and just overcoming adversity together. To me, really, really helps seat friendships. When I stopped skydiving, pretty much, other than a couple, pretty much everybody I know from skydiving is gone. It was a very kind of, very transparent relationship. It was very kind of, not transparent, ephemeral.
Transient,
great word. Transient relationship, and almost the same with triathlon. I still have some close friends. The really close friends I have from Airsoft now are friends. They're not just acquaintances; they really are friends. So for me, that's been the greatest thing from Airsoft. Certainly coming back into it now, has been those relationships that I form with people. If I go to a game now, if it's a skirmish game, which I'm not massively excited about, I'll normally be found in the safe zone drinking coffee and smoking fags, and then I'll wander out. I'll wander out with the camera for a bit, take some photos. Then I'll play
dancing.
Dancing.
Don't forget the dancing.
Do some dancing, and then take a camera out, take some photographs, and then play a game. And then, but I'm there to see the people and be with the people that I care about, and that's important to me. So before I get too gushy,
no.
Oh, love you, Kelly.
Love you. Love you.
Okay, so let's go on to the next question about what suggestions do we have for people that may be losing interest in playing?
Take a step back. Take a step back. Don't sell everything. Don't go on a massive fire sale like people always do. And then 3 weeks later you see them going, has anybody got a plate carrier I can buy? I've just sold my JPC 2 for like 50 quid, but now I want to play again. Step back. Don't think about it. Don't think about Airsoft. Don't spend your life on the forums and Facebook looking at all the different groups. Go do whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
And then, give it a few weeks. If the urge comes back, start looking at things again. Maybe go and play a game when we can, obviously. Fucking learn how to tack if that's what tickles your pickle.
Oh, no. No.
Which isn't for everybody. No.
These nails cannot handle those little springs. Absolutely not.
You could use them as screwdrivers.
You probably could, but it's like, you're trying to pick up the springs and then you're like holding them there, and 1 minute it's like, bing, you're like, oh.
But yeah, I would say the best thing to do is take a step back, but not from the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
The side, stay in touch with the people, because they will be friends whether you play Airsoft or not. And as we've touched on already, it's a really great hobby where you make friends for life. And if you drop out of Airsoft, they'll still be friends.
Okay.
They may try and persuade you to come back before you're ready. They may wait, but stay in touch with the people that you love through it and that you've made friends with through it and forged relationships with, and just step back from the hobby. Just that'd be my biggest advice, I think.
Kelly, what do you think? What have you seen? You got any?
So I would say whenever I've gotten bored with Airsoft, because there are times when I do get bored with it, it's usually because I'm playing the same site over and over and over again. I would say if you are starting to feel a little bit stuck in a rut, because that's the feeling I get. It's kind of I just feel stuck. It's not that I don't want to play. It's just the fact that I'm just like, you get up and like, So what I would say is maybe switch it up, try a different site. If you're used to playing CQB, go play Woodland, get full autoed in a bush. That will definitely reignite your fire for CQB, in my opinion. But yeah, just try a different site. Try something different, urban.
Good advice.
Yeah, that's how I see it. If I ever get bored, I'm just like, right, we're gonna go play a new site.
There are a lot of sites.
There's like over 300.
Used to be.
I think something I'd like to say, coming out of lockdown, is that there's going to be a lot of small businesses struggling. Mm-hmm. So if you can spread your money around a bit, that would be cool. That would be a good thing to do.
Definitely.
Great excuse to visit some more of your local sites and also help some small business owners out because they're going to be in trouble. Sean,
what I would say is,
Kelly.
On top of that is, I know there's been a couple of sites thinking about opening before lockdown ends.
Yeah, don't be that
guy. Don't be that guy. Absolutely not. Because the thing is, as much as Airsoft isn't a contact sport, because they're not on top of each other and smash each other with fists and stuff, there's no way, as someone who helps run a site, there is no way that you can manage the safe zone to socially distance. There's no way you can manage, you can put up perspex screens and put hand sanitizer and all that sort of stuff. But Airsofters sometimes don't understand camo rules. They don't understand that you can't wear black on NATO, even if it's just multicam and tan. So I wouldn't trust people with social distancing. So I would say, even if a site is thinking about opening under lockdown, guys, just wait. Just wait. It's not worth it, because it doesn't matter if, like, you could not get sick. You could be asymptomatic with it, but then you could pass it on to someone else who is more vulnerable. You could pass it on to your nan. You know, it's just not worth it.
So just to reiterate, we're pretty sure in my household we've all had it.
Mm-hmm.
I
think I had it in January.
The two teenagers one had a sniffy nose, one had a sore chest for about 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
My partner was pretty bad, was just about okay. But she struggled. She had the loss of sense and smell and all that sort of stuff. I had it really quite badly, and I'm still recovering. So I can barely walk the dogs at the moment. So it's one of those. It's just not worth it. And also, if you're young and you're fit, you may, as Kelly said, you may not get any symptoms whatsoever. And then let's be honest, you kill your granny, right? That's
it's not worth it.
That's the reality.
I think
somebody else's granny.
Oh, someone else's granny.
Yeah. When I had it in January, I generally think that. So my boss at FRV was hospitalised with symptoms of pneumonia, but he tested negative for pneumonia and the flu. And then I saw him 2 days later. And then I flew to America. I'm not patient zero, don't worry. Then 10 days after SHOT Show, I got really sick. Quarantine her. Yeah, I got really sick, but I had a fever. I couldn't keep myself warm. I was shivering all the time, but I felt hot to the touch. I was wearing clothes in bed, piling blankets on me. Felt like I was drowning. I had a horrible cough, and I recovered by the time I went back to California. But I'm pretty sure that was what it was. And I can tell anyone if they're thinking of. And I class myself as quite fit and healthy. Like, I don't really have any medical conditions apart from like my neurological condition, but we'll leave that. Yeah. That can go over there. So I would just say, guys, it's absolutely shit. Don't do it.
Well, that's not worth it. That site, and there is one site which was quite preeminent. Have got a lot of flack from the community, which was kind of good to see. And they
also,
Phil,
don't go and play at a site that's not open just because you feel like a game with your 3 dickhead mates.
So that was
don't be those dickheads.
So don't be a dickhead, but also if you look at our 2-hour law Airsoft in law podcast, that would constitute armed trespass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And armed trespass is bad. It's not. Yeah. That's a bad thing to be caught for. Okay, so let's. Where were we? We're talking about interest in playing. So.
Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, Kelly.
God. Sorry, I can talk for England.
Just trying. I'm just conscious that people have things to do, so let's crack on with the conversation. Sean, what would be your suggestions?
Everything that Kelly and Phil have both said. Just if you are getting that point where you're just struggling to get up in the morning on a Sunday with that, just I really can't be bothered. Don't be bothered. Just stay in bed. Take a week off. Take a couple of weeks off. Start reel yourself back. Don't sell your kit. I didn't sell all my kit, and that was like 4 years ago. Don't sell it all. Step away from some of the social media aspect, because there are times when the social media can be really vicious and really poisonous, and that really slants views. Just step away from that and just try and isolate the airsoft away just for a short time until you start getting that itchy trigger finger like I'm getting now, and you want to start stepping back into it. But if you do, try a new site, change up how you play, maybe even change what you use. So normally you'd play as full assault. Yes, Kelly.
Oh no, it's okay. You carry on. I've just seen a comment, and I have a rebuttal to this comment.
Go for it.
Ooh.
Are you sure? Okay, so I saw a comment that said there are no trespass laws in Scotland. Now, when Land Warrior posted the videos and the statuses about people trespassing on their land, I actually Googled, because I saw someone comment, there's no trespassing law in Scotland. So I Googled it to see if that was. And I've just Googled it now, and it says, it is an oft-repeated myth that there are no trespassing laws in Scotland. This is simply not true. Trespass is a civil wrong called a delict in Scots legal terminology. The Act provides the public the right to be on and cross most land and inland water in Scotland in a reasonable manner. But I would argue that being on any land that is not your own during a global pandemic is not crossing a land in a responsible manner. That is my rebuttal. I will hand it back to the jury.
Thank you very much.
And shooting, and out there for the sole purpose of shooting little Timmy in the face as well.
Oh yeah, there is that.
Like,
I think the caveat is
how stupid can you be?
Is reasonable grounds, and there are, certainly.
Definitely.
So, certainly don't be tempted to go up to the local woods. Don't be tempted to do anything daft like that. From my perspective, what I've always done is done something a bit different. So if you're playing skirmish games, so as well as playing at different sites, think about playing different types of airsoft. So we could go into mil sim, battle sim, real sim, film sim.
Be a snipey boy.
Airsoft.
Yeah.
Be a snipey boy.
You're a CQB boy.
Snippy boy, leaf suit man, and all that sort of stuff. So it's one of those things. There are absolute shit tons of different ways of playing airsoft, and if you only ever play at the same site and you pretty much played the same 5 games for years, you're just gonna get bored. That's just what's going to happen. And there's a million. So you might want to do a heavily themed game. You might want to go to a really tight CQB arena. You might want to go and play a 48-hour milsim. Though I'd think about building up to that. There's absolutely tons of stuff to do that isn't playing at the same site, playing the same 5 games for the rest of your life. So that would be my major push on that one.
The same attack and defend. Infected.
Capture the flag. We can go into whether that's we've
domination.
Target shooting. Target shooting really kept me going last year.
Yeah.
Could go Speedsoft.
Oh, Speedsoft.
Run that trigger, boys.
Oh, Speedsoft is it's an experience. It's an experience. I don't even hate it. I just so when I go to California, we play against Speedsofters all the time, and there are some teams that are they just play really well, and then you get people that are just dickheads, but they're like, oh, we're Speedsofters. You're not a Speedsofter, you're a dickhead. There's a difference between what I think is responsible Speedsoft and irresponsible Speedsoft, and I've seen both played in California. But yeah, I mean, it's not how I want to play, because I'm way too lazy for that amount of running. I just want to walk and just chill and maybe jog at a leisurely pace.
What I like to call a tactical bimble to contact.
I'm definitely send the young people out first to find contact, and then then come in behind them.
Yeah.
I will not be one of those young people. By the way,
we've talked at length about the definition of airsoft in the UK, so I won't repeat it here. But I think part of the problem we get sometimes is, just to reiterate, even though I said I wouldn't, airsoft in the UK and airsoft in the US is a very different beast.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think people get very confused. but also it's a very confusing subject. So watch my 2-hour live stream, and you'll find out all about it on UK Airsoft Law.
Funny you mention about that. I did actually see last night a video from a chap from America playing in the UK, and you were there as well, Kelly.
Oh, so
you were playing, and he borrowed your gun, and he was having real issues with some of the UK rules, like not because he wanted to be a knob, but
was that,
because he just wasn't used
Dayton's
to it.
video.
Dayton, yeah, Dayton. So Dayton's Canadian, and he came over here. So he went to the Norwich event in Austria, and he was like, "Hey, am I okay to stop off in the UK? Can I set yours?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, why not?" And then he came to Westwood's High Command, which is our CQB site. It's like 13,000 square feet. It's tiny, it's dark, it's tight. If you want to shit your pants around every single corner, it's definitely the site for you. But he played it and he was genuinely loving it. But there were some things like when the marshals were like, "Hey, you can't do that," he's like, "I can't." And it wasn't because he was being a dickhead just trying to like game the game. It's generally because he did not know that was something we didn't do here. But I think like the marshals took it all in good stead. Like I know a lot of sites have a rule about trigger spamming. So at West Mids, we just think it like just be reasonable. Don't be like, that's not reasonable. But just a couple extra taps if someone's not a, or a full mag. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But I think, he didn't quite understand some of the rules we had, so he wasn't just being a dick. He was just kind of like, I didn't know. Yeah. But he did really enjoy the day. He was, he says, like our CQB is obviously very different to American CQB because most of their CQB is like tournament sort of speed QB style, which is obviously perfect if you play speed QB. But obviously, if you just want to like tactically bimble for some contact at a CQB site, it's not ideal. Speedsoft's not ideal for me because that's so much energy, and it's so much energy, and then you're faced with all, and you're like, shot in the face again. But at least I wear full face there.
But you can certainly try it if that's the sort of thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Now I will say it does not meet the UK legal definition of airsoft, but that's another live stream.
I also agree on that.
But there you go. Okay, so let's move on before we get in trouble from all the Speedsofters in the comments.
Speedsofters, we love you, really. We love you.
However, okay, so if you're injured or incapacitated, or you just fancy doing something completely different in airsoft, what things do we think people can get up to? Kelly, I know you've started marshalling. Would you like to talk us through that? Now we can get on. In fact, we've all marshalled, so let's have a marshalling conversation.
Yeah.
So one of the things you can definitely do if you're getting a bit fed up and you want to do something else is marshal, and you see a very different perspective on the game and what happens. So let's start with Kelly. What did you find out?
So I started working as a marshal at West Mids in 2017. I'd just gone to the G&G Speed QB. No, was it Speed QB? No, it was CQB. Sorry, G&G. CQB Championships in Taiwan. I'd come back, and I was like, I've played a lot in America because I'd gone to America, then gone to Taiwan. Oh, okay.
We might have lost Sean. Don't worry about it.
Sean's frozen for me. He's back.
Yay.
He's back. Yay. So I went to America and I played like every weekend, and we travelled like to Georgia, to Washington to play, and then I went to Taiwan to watch the CQB Championship. And afterwards, I was like, I need a bit of a break because it was so much in such a short space of time. And obviously, when you're travelling as well, there's so much extra stress, like whether your bag's going to get there,
keep going.
Whether your bag's going to get there, whether your gun's going to get there. I hid an AK-47 AEG, I would like to point that out, in my suitcase when I went to Washington. I flew from California to Washington. Nothing was said on the way there, but on the way back, my lock was broken, and I had a little TSA slip that said, "We've been through your luggage to check something out," which I felt bad for them about because that was hidden in all my dirty laundry from that game.
Yeah.
So I wanted a break from everything. So I said to Paul, I was like, "Do you need any marshals?" He's like, yeah, of course, we always need marshals. So I went in, and I definitely think it gives you a different idea of the game. You see a different side to it. You get to see engagements from both sides, and you're just like, you want to tell someone, be like, "Yo, he's round the corner," but you can't say it. So you just have to sit there and watch it happen. And sometimes you're just like, "Ooh, this is going to be a spicy one." But you also see some absolutely, like, I have seen things that I cannot describe to you how stupid they are. Like, there's two different sides of it. You see, like, great gameplay, and you see it from both sides. You don't just see, like, one, like, you won't see your team, you won't just see your team attack. You'll see both teams just go at it, and then you're just like, oh my god, that was a great play. That was a great play. And then sometimes you'll just see someone, like, take off their eye pro, put it above their head, and then get their face mask and wear their face mask here. And then you're like, oh, dude, where's your eye pro? And he's like, oh, don't worry, it's here. And you're like, no, put something over your eyes. Either or. Preferably your eye pro. So I think if you want to still be involved and you still want the camaraderie of Airsoft, definitely, and you want some laughs, because Martian will definitely give you some laughs, I think you should definitely try it out, because it's also a good learning curve, because then you will see why some marshals make the decisions that they do.
Yeah.
I think some people think I'm harsh, or I have been called that bitch pink-haired marshal before. But what I'm thinking about is not if you think climbing up into a tree is a bomb-ass idea. What I'm thinking about is I don't want to be the one to, like, splint your leg whilst we're waiting for the ambulance to arrive. I think you see it from a very different perspective. But you still get the camaraderie, and, like, everyone at the site is like a family anyway.
Yeah.
So you still get a lot. You still get lots of reach arounds, lots of cuddles. You know, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment.
Reach round.
Yeah. Like, Phil knows this. Phil's been to the site.
Phil said, no, I'm not going there. Not going there. Phil, you've had a reach around or two from marshals. So what's your perspective on it?
Yeah, normally when I'm trying to get my Mark 46.
Stop bringing fancy
Phil, you've done some marshalling. What's your... Or let's and a broader question: what other things can you do within Airsoft that's not necessarily playing that will keep you?
I mean, like I said, in times gone by, I've helped with people who've got problems with their guns, like fixing guns. I think that's something that you can do, and then a lot of sites will have people who just help out occasionally. So not necessarily marshalling, but maybe helping out in the shop, or just helping out around the safe zone, things like that. Or, looking at other areas. And like for me, target shooting last year was the big thing. I didn't play a huge amount last year. I didn't want to go out. But practicing transitions and, from primary to secondary, and also transitioning from targets, probably what kept me sane for some of last year. And we had a great few hours in my garden just blasting away at attack sense targets for hours. And that was, that really helped keep me sort of interested, because I was starting to sort of go towards, I don't know if I can be bothered. I certainly can't be bothered to play. I don't want to go to a game. I really don't want to be around 100 people that I don't really know, or even go to the games where my friends were. And I didn't want to do that. But yeah, so if there's something else that you can do, like, and you don't need to have fancy electronic targets. I knocked some targets up out of some wood from home base that cost a couple of quid for 2 meters. And then I just printed some targets off. And then eventually I bought some of the, like the KC targets, the shoot and see. So you can see them, which we use for the BB test.
I'm really looking forward to, obviously, lockdown easing, and I can go around to Phil's and we can finich off our very long-awaited big bio BB test. Kelly's got a hot ear.
Yeah, in fact, when I was when I was sorting out the garage yesterday, I found all the bio BBs going, one day, hopefully soon, we'll get to shoot them all.
They're not old IOBBs where they become that diameter after being in the damp.
Well, one bag looks like it's full of golf balls.
Well, there's bio, then there's biodegradable,
no.
which we'll talk about in the video when we do it. Sean, you've
opened any of them.
You've done a variety of things in Airsoft. What would you recommend doing that's not actually playing, to keep you motivated?
Oh, I think marshalling is a good shout. But you do have to, like everybody's mentioned so far, you do have to put up with the particularly special stuff as well as the good stuff, because you will see some absolutely incredible stuff out on the field. You'll see some amazing play. You'll see great sportsmanship.
Marshalling,
and on the other hand, you do have to have a level. You do have to have a level head for it. And
you've got to not mind being shot when you're not in a game.
You'll get shot more.
You have to just keep your. You do, yeah. You have to keep your shit together, because you can't just scream at players because you've been shot. The only thing I will say is you're absolutely in your rights to call a player a bellend if they shoot you in the face and you've actually said, do you want me to move? And they're like, no, it's fine. They shoot you in the face. You're like,
or where I've had one trying to use me as rolling cover.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
That's not right.
Rifle on my shoulder. And I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And it's like, no, mate, I can't. No, you really can't.
No. This is where
thanks.
You get to be a meat shield, not me. You can be my meat shield. How rude. How rude.
You will see some really particularly special stuff, great stuff as well. Like chasing a guy across a field who's got smoke pouring out of his bag because his smoke grenades have gone off, and chasing across a field with smoke pouring everywhere because you're trying to put him out. As you know, stuff like that is brilliant. It's amazing. But again, you have to be pretty level-headed because you are going to get a lot of flack for it, and it could possibly send you down the rabbit hole of getting into politics, which is what you're trying to avoid. Okay. Another option is maybe a site photographer.
Yep.
Being a photographer.
I really enjoy taking photos.
I think for me personally, at a open day skirmish, I would probably now rather take photos than certainly play the whole day. I'll happily go out and play a couple of games. Yeah. But I'd rather take a camera out. At the moment, I really enjoy that.
Another thing I started doing was I started writing games. So I wouldn't play, but I'd run the day, or somebody else could run it, but I'd write the game for that particular afternoon or morning or the whole day or whatever. And that can be quite a good way to get a completely different perspective on Airsoft. You know, because no game plan ever survives first contact with an Airsoft.
No, it doesn't. No matter how well it's planned or how much time you spend on it. You can guarantee Airsoft will run straight past the first objective and you're just like, no!
And you can say categorically, unless it is this item here, do not pick it up. And then they come back to the safe zone with every prop on the side going, we've got them all. Go, no, those were supposed to be left in the game zone. Oh, right, you didn't say.
You're defending those.
I really did. I said very clearly, unless it's this, don't touch it. And I've written some games that are really, really complex. And then I've just thought, right, when I start talking, what are they going to hear? And it's going, yellow shoot red, red shoot yellow. And that's as simple as it needs to be. One of the best games I ever wrote was with Martin Riley, who owns Fireball and runs it. And it was over about a bottle and a half of red wine, and it looked like a drunk epileptic spider had just crawled across a piece of paper and some ink. And that was one of the best weekend games we ever had. And it was basically Scrawl.
I'm going to add to the mix, start a YouTube channel. Or some form of social media presence. Start taking pictures.
Start a blog, start
doing Instagram, start a Facebook page. I mean, it depends what you want to get out of it. I mean, but it's a really nice way of, particularly during the week, of doing stuff, which is which is separate.
It's also good to know that you don't need masses of equipment and like camera stuff to start a blog or YouTube channel. Just shoot. If you've got an iPhone or a really recent Samsung, just smash it on that.
The cameras on modern smartphones are incredible.
Yeah, they're really good.
That's exactly what I'm using right now. Is I'm sat on my phone.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. There we go.
It's great, isn't it? You know, I find I've got not professional kit. I've got quite a lot of kit now, which actually I wasn't using.
You've got some fancy kit.
You've got some amazing kit. Don't give us that bullshit.
Yeah. I'm not saying like.
Oh no, I haven't got anything fancy. I've seen your setup.
So I got, but when we started with the home digital camera.
Yeah.
On the tripod that we had lying around, and that was it. And then the free movie editing software. And now things are getting more progressive, and I'm getting more confident in what I'm doing. And I bought some random shit that I never used. Actually, I'm now using it because I'm live streaming, and it's like one of those.
It's a fancy boy now.
Don't start it to get free kit though. Just don't.
Yeah. Also, don't
suddenly go. I've got 3 viewers on my YouTube channel. Can I have a free GNU?
No, the answer will be absolutely categorically. That's what it'll just be a no. What I would say is, if you want to start a YouTube channel or a blog or anything like that, or an Instagram, do it because you love it and because you have a passion for it. If you start it because you want to get free shit or you want the money, I take great advice. not how it's going to cost you money. That's not how it's going to go down. Like it took me 3 years, almost 4 years for the blog to start making money, and up until that point I funded everything myself.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you want to make it a career and you want to do something with it, absolutely stick to it, because it does take a lot of perseverance, hard work and sacrifice. I will say that.
Matt asks, have all of us marshalled in Airsoft? I think we all have marshalled, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. It's fun, but it gives you a very different perspective on.
But it isn't for everybody, though. If you're not prepared to stand there and say to a player, "You're wrong," or "This is my decision and I'm going to stick with it," it can be a bit, daunting.
Probably doesn't help being a 5'3" woman either.
If you don't,
I'm not.
I think if you're unwilling to, if you don't like confrontation, then it might not be the thing for you. Because I've had times when players have got really confrontational with me over the fact that they're in the wrong. And the thing is, at that point, it's like, I mean, Marshall's word is final. I'm sorry, just go back to your respawn. Stop being a wet lettuce.
Yeah. If you've got a good site as well, they'll.
Yeah.
I know, and I keep going back to Fireball, but it's where I've played for years. I've got some really good mates there. They don't let anybody marshal. You have to be a member before you can marshal, and they won't let you marshal on your own until you've shadowed a marshal for, I think it's about 3 or 4 games.
Yeah,
and even then, if you're not confident doing it on your own, you can still go out with a marshal, but you will be the one in charge. They're just there to back you up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
vital.
I think that is the big limiting factor, is to become a marshal, you tend to have to be a regular at that site and a trusted player.
Yeah.
And normally somebody with some experience under the belt, so you know when to call what. For me, that was okay, because I've been playing at the same particular site for like 3 or 4 years, and I was quite in with the head marshal, and I was in with the guy that ran it as well. We're still friends now. So that helped. But for your ordinary Joe Bloggs player, that they're probably not going to have that option of becoming a marshal. So maybe offering to do photographs for their Facebook page or whatever, or even sitting at home and pulling a gun apart. Especially at the moment, it's great right now because places are still sending spares. So when you lose that spring inevitably under the settee, because you've just taken the gearbox apart.
I pulled my new seamer apart on camera, which was terrifying because I'm not a particularly great tech. And then 35 people turned up to watch me do it, and I was like, "What is going on?"
Lovely.
And I was like,
"It was all right. You didn't manage to lose any springs."
No. Behind the scenes, I was absolutely shitting myself.
You still had all the bits you started with when you finished. So
it's all back together now. So I think so. The social media wise, it's certainly from a personal perspective, I've sunk a lot of money into this, but that's my decision. It's my hobby. It's vaguely starting to pay back, but it's going to be a long old road. I reckon a couple of years I might be able to do something with it. So certainly don't think you're going to make a load of cash. Don't think if you've got 300 followers, you ain't going to be getting free guns from people to be reviewing it. That's just not going to happen.
I'm nowhere near as involved as you or Kelly in that side. I've got my own thing, but it's nowhere near as big as you guys have got online, and it still takes money, even at that level, and time and commitment. And you say, right, I'm going to do a video, and it's like, I've got to do a video, but it can just keep you going because you've got to do certain things, otherwise it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's
start.
What's
the old saying with Airsoft? How to make £1 million in Airsoft? Start with 2 million.
With 2.
Yeah, pretty much. Open a shop. That's generally a really good way of losing absolutely tons of money. So let's start. I'm conscious that people have got things to do, so let's start rounding up. If any of the viewers have questions for us, please let us know pretty imminently.
You'll have to read them out. I can't.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can see them. It's not a problem. But yeah, so do you guys have any other tips or suggestions for people to stay interested? We've touched on a few things, but is there anything else that we think we may have missed? Stunned silence.
Just enjoy it.
Don't get disheartened if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it and appreciate it.
Yeah, if you have a crap day, don't think that's going to be how it is every time you play. And if you really, really, really don't feel like going, don't, because you will have a shit day.
Yeah.
And then that'll just really annoy you for weeks if you're anything like I am anyway.
that was
it's not good.
Overthinking.
That was the trap I fell into, was just go in because it was like, I kind of have to go.
Yeah.
Not having a good day because my mindset was I wasn't going to have a good day.
Yeah, so you
and that was it. That was the spiral, and then you just start digging that big hole, and you fall into it eventually. So if you're not in the right frame of mind, don't go.
Yeah,
you can always go the next weekend or a few weeks later. When this all finishes, this lockdown, that there's going to be games on all over the place. And as Tom said, it may not be one near you, but maybe if you really want to play, take that time to go and try a new site, support another local business and, small business, and let's try and keep the airsoft community and the industry going, because it's going to be hit hard by this.
I think there definitely will be some sites and some small businesses that will shut doors after this. When I've been speaking to Paul from West Mids, I know that we will be open every single day for 2 weeks after we're given the green light.
Okay.
So if you guys fancy playing a midweek shoot, we're there for you. I will also be playing every single day because now I'm actually super bored. I just want to play Airsoft again. I just want to I want to dress like a toy soldier and just shoot someone in the face again.
Okay. So
and then get shouted at for shooting someone in the face.
A couple of quick questions from the audience before we shut down. One of them is a fairly standard job. Very quickly, quick fire, what's your favourite weapon to use? You got a favourite gun, Phil?
Anything AR.
Anything AR. Sean?
GHK AK. Boosh.
Kelly?
Crytek CRB Mark II upgraded.
I like my TM Mark 18 recoil that I've got a penchant for retro ARs at the moment. Okay, Arrow Airsoft asks, as much fun as it is, how far would you realistically travel for a site?
I don't think I need to answer this one.
America for Kelly.
I've been known to go all the way up the other end of the country.
Yeah, ditto.
In this country, I've travelled like 7 hours to Scotland and back. Well, just to Scotland, because apparently as soon as you get past Liverpool, no one can drive. No offence to anyone listening, but it's taken me 7 hours to get to Edinburgh from Derby, which normally takes 5 hours. But
where I live, no matter where I go, it is like the other end of the country because I live at the bottom of it.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Okay.
So, going to Bluewater, that took me and my mate 9 hours to get there from where we are. 9 hours because just sat on the M25 car park.
That's almost an entire flight to the States. That's
ridiculous, isn't it? That's
crazy,
absolutely
isn't
mental.
it?
You fly halfway around the world at the same time. It gets you to travel like. Tom
asks,
asks,
at Lindsay took us 12.
Tom Foxtrot asked, how do you get to meet people outside sites? As someone who doesn't drive, it's nearly impossible to get to a site if my friends aren't playing. I don't know, it's difficult.
Difficult one.
I don't drive. I've got some close. I don't drive.
I would honestly say join if you want to go to a site. Most of these sites have Facebook groups. I know West Mids has one, and you see people posting there quite regularly saying, "Hey, I want to come to the site, but I don't really have any mode of transport. Would anyone be willing to car share with me?" Always offer some fuel. Like, don't be stingy. Always offer some fuel, and someone will. People are so friendly in Airsoft. Someone will come and grab you.
Buy a Mackey's breakfast.
Yeah, don't be stingy. Offer a petrol and a Mackey's breakfast.
Yeah, absolutely. Gold. That's the way to an Airsoft start.
And eventually, you'll also probably make good friends with them because you sat in a car with them, etc. And then it will become, they will offer to give you.
It may also be a bit scary because you don't know them. But bear in mind, you have a common interest.
Yeah.
So you can
talk about guns.
Talk about guns for a bit.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for questions on the subject. I'd like to thank my guests, Kelly, Phil and Sean, an awful lot for turning up. Thank you very much. I think we've been a really great chat. I've really enjoyed it. I'd like to thank my viewers and the commenters. Thank you very much. It's been absolutely awesome to have you guys watching the video with us. I hope you have
Thank
a
you.
fabulous VE day. Kelly's off for a social distance party, I'm sure.
Social distance street party.
And we're having
Realistically, we're just going to sit. Well, I've not got a front garden, so realistically, what I'm going to do is sit on my doorstep with a glass of wine whilst talking to my next door neighbours from their doorsteps.
all sounds good to me. We're going to have a barbecue, I
great.
think.
Oh,
But
I bet.
definitely no Vera Lynn, so that's all good. So I'm going to shut the stream down. Thank you very much, viewers. It's been
Cheers, guys.
absolutely great as normal to have
Thank
you
you,
guys
ladies
on.
and gents.
See you.
Take care.